done really a good job in, figuring out the best use cases, in really challenging the academia, right? I mean, we assume that the academia, will do things as we say, right? Or will do things as what they have learned. I think the gap is where we need to be really challenged. I mean, we need to really get to a level where every day, if there is a event that happens, right?
Yeah.
Then that, so if COVID happens or any financial crisis event happens, and this is based on something called CEP, complex event processing. In fact, when I talk about CEP in the industry and even in the academia, people say, hey, is this a new tech? Something like complex event processing has been there around since 2002, 2003, right? During the first time I joined IBM in my career.
Oh, yeah.
So I think we need to shake it up. We need to take the shot. We need to take the risk. We need to, as a nation, we have forgotten, forget academia, even in industry, we have forgotten basic engineering and development principles in a rush to build applications fast. We even half the way we even forgot about the basic security principles, right? So for example, something like JAS, right? Java Authentication and Authorization Services. We didn't invoke them, right? So I think we need to completely transform. I think this COVID is a really blessing in disguise. And if we, we are already a IT services powerhouse, and we can really become the next emerging tech powerhouse. And for that, we really need to, go for it, take the shot. We're too much bogged down by, PPTs and videos and some other, fascinations we have. But I think as engineers or even as non-technologists, I think it's all out there. Everything is going to be do it yourself. Everything is very easy. There is, I've also been researching on something called as LCNC, which is low code, no code, right? So without writing the code, you can develop the applications.
Okay.
I mean, these are the fantastic innovations that are really changing, the way that we are, when we look back, we need to keep, I think, innovating. We need to, we can't outsource everything, right? We got to build it ourselves. So I think, what you guys are doing is truly great and outstanding.
Thank you.
Because we require this kind of push to the students. The younglings have to be challenged. They have to, the expectation from getting ready-made projects, right from the data to the Excel sheet to the app to the output. I think that expectation needs to change, right?
Yes.
The academia must challenge the students. The students must challenge the academia, right? And once that happens, I think we'll be well on our way to becoming the, the powerhouse, the emerging tech powerhouse of the world.
Okay. Nice. And again, what can you tell us some few words about LCNC?
Yeah, sure. So LCNC is nothing but low code, no code. So we have been currently writing for many years. We are writing code, right? So whether it's Python or Java or C or .NET or whatever it is, we have written so much code that we don't know where that code is. We don't know who controls the repositories. We don't know, we can't reuse the code. It's just a mess, right? So I think with LCNC, where you can develop applications without writing a single block of code, you get pre-built templates, you get automation routines, and without writing a piece of code, one is able to develop applications. So I think that's probably, I spoke about this, last year And this year, I think it's all going the LCNC way. And one of the basic reasons why it is going the LCNC way is that a lot of the non-technologists, even people from the business side, are now able to do this themselves, right? Because by the time they give a request to IT departments, not in all organizations, but I would say in substantially a fair amount of organizations, there's always a divide between the business and IT, right? Even today, there's a large divide. And once the business starts even challenging the IT, then IT will also improve. It's just like cloud, right? I mean, IT infrastructure. I remember the days, right from very large organizations I've served in, GE, IBM, Barclays, SBI. These are very, very large organizations, and we've had such huge infrastructure kind of investments as well as operations. But cloud has completely changed all that. Cloud has completely disrupted. What started as a 2003 technology is today become the de facto computing platform, and very successful, whether it's private or public or hybrid or whatever it is. So I think, so similarly, low code, no code, gives an entry point for everybody, whether you're a technologist or non-technologist, it doesn't matter. And it's one way. In fact, I would say that this LCNC and all this emerging tech should be taught right from school, right? I've also started an initiative, called "How to Make Yourself and Your Organization AI and ET First," right? AI and emerging tech first, right? So these are some of the technologies that are going to really completely transform, further transform, if not already transformed, further transformed. And these technologies, in conjunction with AI, blockchain, cloud, IoT, 5G, all this stuff coming in, I think will help the entire world not just go digital, but probably have even more transformation and collaboration in the future.
Okay. And again, you are a person who is very means contributing to AI also. How does AI blockchain integration is happening, and which all areas that will be fruitfully happening?
So I think in the blockchain, definitely the data science analysis required for blockchains, right? Because of the large amount of data held in the nodes, or even analyzing what transactions have happened, right? Especially when you build the Genesis node, when you start with your blockchain, you build the Genesis node and then you take it ahead. I think you all would have had sessions on that last 2 days. So I think that integration, so the AI, the blockchain integration with emerging tech, which includes, all our emerging tech, I think that is the key. I don't think any emerging tech can run on its own, right? It has to be integrated. And we've been using many stacks. We've been using, so many stacks and so much software in our organizations that we even have forgotten how many licenses we have, right? We can't even figure that out. So I think we can start with writing a blockchain trust as a service combined with AI and data science to first figure out how much software and licenses we have in the organization. I think that's a good use case.
Okay. And I think time is around 9:30, and usually we have above 100 participants. I think it's a starting time, and soon we will almost everybody will be joining. Shall we start, Sudinji?
Sure.
Over to Vinay Kumar for the program, starting of the program.
Thanks. Warm greetings from Saintgits College of Engineering, and welcome to Day 5 STTP on Blockchain Fundamentals, organized by Saintgits College of Engineering, sponsored by ASDT. Hope you are enjoying the sessions. Today we have 3 eminent speakers for our sessions. The first session at 9:30 a.m. on blockchain technologies, tools for collaborative innovation by Sudin Baraokar. Second session at 11:30 a.m. on blockchain and business application by Roberto Fernandez Herguta. Third session at 2 p.m. on blockchain financial market innovation by Prasanna Lohar. Sudin Baraokar is a tech innovator having served in Barclays, SBI, IBM, and GE. Currently serves as IT and innovation advisor to global banks and fintechs and chairs the Bankchain Alliance, which is established to collaborate and co-develop blockchain solutions for 30 plus global banks. Sudin has worked on 70 plus technologies and platforms like blockchain and AI, a digital evangelist, architect, and strategist. He is an advisor to global banks on blockchain models, use cases, architecture, blockchain fabrics, pilots, and solutions. He advised on building digital banks, digital payment ecosystems, fintech services, digital superstore using blockchain and digital technologies. Developed services for money payments, collection, and lending. Sudhin has worked on retail banking, corporate banking, SMB lending, credit cards, investment banking, mergers and acquisition, trade finance, insurance, and wealth management. We are grateful to have you here, sir. I welcome you to the session on blockchain technologies, tools for collaborative innovation. Over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. So I will share my presentation and start off. Great. So thank you for the introduction. I'm Sudin Baraokar. I will talk about blockchain in terms of the tools and collaboration that have been happening, extremely important. I will assume that the last 2 days of the blockchain sessions have given a good introduction as well as a technical aspect to the working of blockchain. I will talk more about the architecture, the engineering and development, as well as some of the innovation collaboration that in fact we have done very much in India. So I've been in the ID space for more than 2 decades. I've worked in very large enterprises, right from State Bank of India and Barclays. I was head of innovation out there, and then have also worked in IBM and GE. So let's talk about blockchain. Blockchain is not a new tech. Hash functions, crypto functions have been there around the days of probably TCP IP. That's the days of 50s and 60s. So it's not a new technology. It's fairly old, at least the functions are old. But what makes it different is the fact that it's become an emerging tech. And the reason for that is when the DLT, that is distributed ledger technologies, is added to blockchain, then it gives a completely new dimension. And how is this affecting industry? It's especially of importance to industries like banking, where the entire thought process or the entire process revolves around trust. And trust as a service, using a combination of blockchain and DLT, is something that is now rapidly evolving, getting very immersive. And in the years to come or in the months to come, most of the engineering and development around fintech will be focused and based on blockchain fabrics. So let's talk about India. Very large country. How do we use blockchain? Can we use an emerging technology like blockchain for emerging models and emerging themes, emerging use cases? I think that's fantastic. That's the way it should be. The reason being is that in banks, especially large global banks, SBI, largest lender in the country, Barclays, one of the oldest banks in the world, we have A to Z of all applications. A to Z. Just name it, we have it. SBI, we spend more than $1 billion in IT alone. So how can blockchain help? It can help in areas where the emerging use cases are coming along in a very big way. Take, for example, the financial ecosystem in India. India is one of the very few countries where the needy people or the financial inclusion people, people who actually need the money, and a lot of them, close to probably, I think 80%, maybe 800 or 900 million people in the country are needing money. And our use case is completely different. We have a more useless case in India, right? So people who really need the money don't get the money. And people who have the money will get even more money. And many of them may not even return the money. So can blockchain be used for financial inclusion? Can it be used for trust as a service? Can it be used for further go digital? The answer is yes. In 2017, 2018, we made a report when I was head of innovation in State Bank. We made a report in Parliament. I don't know why we made the report, but we made a report saying that it cost us several thousand crore of rupees just to maintain, just to operate and maintain the Jan Dhan accounts, right? Jan Dhan accounts are about 500 million of them in India. State Bank alone has more than 500 million, more than 100 million. And these Jan Dhan accounts are typically financial inclusion accounts. They are for the needy people. Typically, they could have balances ranging from 0 rupees up to maybe 10,000 or even up to 1 lakh rupees. Right? So we made a statement saying that it's costing us thousands of crores just to operate and maintain these accounts. In my personal view, not the bank's view, in my personal view, I think money would have been better just directly given to the people rather than wasting it on operating and maintaining the accounts. So can blockchain help? Definitely can help. It can help save the costs. And from an engineering perspective, it can even definitely help much more. Right? So the use of blockchain should not be dictated by daily use cases, or at times I call them useless cases for all the right reasons. But it should be dictated by the needs of the industry. And blockchain on its own with DLT, with distributed ledger technology, has got several benefits, many benefits. So whether it's go digital, financial inclusion, trust as a service, right? Mobile wallets, digital wallets. Then there's also the integration with the other stack ecosystem. We can integrate blockchain with our core banking systems, with the service virtualization of APIs. Everything is going the API way. In State Bank and Barclays, we have used APIs extensively. In IBM, we built an entire ecosystem for APIs. So I think I spent a little more time on this, but it's important to realize that use of blockchain and emerging tech is best suited for emerging use cases emerging models and emerging themes. Okay. So this is interesting. Let's look at this. Blockchain in a bimodal way. Yeah. Software and network. So how does this blockchain work, right? We start with blockchain, we use any of the fabrics, right? We use the either private blockchain fabrics or public blockchain fabrics. And we build up something called as the Genesis node, right? The first node in blockchain is called the Genesis node. So that is building the software, right? So you have the software, you build the first node. And once you build that first node and add the other nodes to it, and then of course all the transactions will be applied to those nodes, and all the rules will be applied. We typically use something as BRMS, business rules management systems. BRMS again is a old technology. There's nothing new. We also use that for blockchain. And once you build up this nodes and build up the rules, so you're building up the rules, right, which is the software, the logic, the equations, the algorithms, and then you're building up the network. Once you do that, once you have the software, you have the logic, and you have the network, it is possible overnight, well, not literally overnight, but in a very agile manner, to develop an entire financial services superstore using blockchain. Right? This is a massive scope, massive scope. It means that all the future fintech and even some of the current models of fintech are being developed using blockchain and emerging technologies. Right? So is it possible to build this financial services superstore? Yes. What do banks do? Right? We lend money, we collect money, we offer trust to money, we advise on money, we protect money. So this entire financial services superstore can be built using blockchain, DLT, automation, and other emerging tech in a very, very fast manner. Much faster than we built up in the previous generations of either tech or application, tech stack or application development. Right? Now, one of the questions would be that, okay, why again blockchain, right? I mean, yes, it is the emerging tech. So we use typically blockchain for the change side of the business, right? So we run okay, I don't have that slide, but I'll just talk it through. We run organizations in two ways. It's called a bimodal way. Again, we have the run and we have the change. Run means running our mission critical systems. Change means doing the transformation using all the latest and greatest of emerging tech. Right? And let me tell you about the run part of it. We benchmarked our core banking systems in 2017 when I was head of innovation in State Bank of India. In 2017, we benchmarked our core banking systems at 24,000 transactions per day. Per second. 24,000 transactions, TPS, it's called TPS, 24,000 transactions per second. Or approximately 1.5 billion transactions in a day. This is the most advanced, complex, scalable system in the world to help serve our 420 plus million customers and 650 million plus accounts, all developed in India by Indian technologists. No core banking system in the world even comes close to what we have developed in India. And this system runs perfectly well. Take this example of the COVID environment. Sitting at home, you can do all your digital transactions. You can, if you want a moratorium, you can just put in a request and click the option and send it to the bank. You can transfer money, you can deposit money all digitally, completely contactless, completely seamless. So it means that the run works perfectly. And the change side of it, where we're using technologies like blockchain, digital technologies, work in perfect sync and harmony with our mission critical systems. So all what we prophesized as emerging tech, and this is quite some time back. In Barclays, I remember we've done this. We have done internet banking, tablet banking, mobile banking, digital payments, wallet payments. We started this in 2009, 2010 in Barclays. State Bank of India, we started around 2015, 2016. And we used to be kind of, not mocked at, but at times being told, why is this required, right? By some of the folks, right? Now, the same folks tell us that how good a job we have done. And how good a job, especially in a country like India, where all the banking mission critical systems and services work perfectly well. So blockchain is going to happen, is happening, is going to happen, is happening, and will be the future. And then the question is, what's happened? So we have already, and I have a few other slides where I can talk you through some of the use cases, but we've already implemented a lot of use cases successfully. But just like cloud and just like other emerging tech where we have to be patient with hype technologies, similarly, we have to be patient with blockchain. And in the months to come, in the years to come, a lot of applications, a lot of the new development will be based on blockchain, because in an agile manner, you can quickly build up in a bimodal way the software and the network. That's all you require, right? You can put it on the cloud. You can put entire blockchain is now available as a service on the cloud, be it AWS or Azure or IBM Cloud or Google Cloud or whatever clouds are there, and there are a whole lot of clouds out there. And you are well on your way to build the next generation of services, especially in banking or even other services, which have to deploy trust as a service. But these are some of the fabrics that we worked on and have implemented it. Private and permission, which is IBM Hyperledger, very popular. Multi-chain, probably more popular in the developer community. Intel Sawtooth, R3 Corda has been gaining a lot of acceptance, again, mostly in the enterprise world. They also have a developer community edition where you can test out your application or solution. So these are private and permissioned. And then there's a public, which is Ethereum, and there are a lot of other environments also out there. Right? What, at least from an enterprise world or view, what we're doing is focusing our work on private and permissioned fabrics, at least at this time, because we find that usage of blockchain and aligning them to our use cases is quite aligned to the private and permissioned kind of blockchains rather than public, right? There are a lot of banks also using public, but in some countries like India, the entire crypto piece of it is not legal. There has been a lot of talk on that about some judgments and why crypto is not or not legal. But the blockchain is not just about crypto. Blockchain is far much more than crypto. And as engineers, whether you all are in a technical role or non-technical role, or even if some of you all have a non-engineering background, that's perfectly okay. The way I see it of blockchain being used is that blockchain, like other emerging tech, is a converged stub of code. Even when we write AI, when we write blockchain, you're writing a converged stub of code. It means that your compute, network, and storage is being written at one time. Now, does that help? I've done a lot of research on it and helps in a very, very big way. It'll completely change the way we are doing engineering and development. It'll optimize because the future of infrastructure is going to be a world of something called HCI, right? And you all would have heard the term HCI. HCI is nothing but it's called hyper converged infrastructure. In layman's language, it means that instead of buying my compute server separately, then my network server separately, and then my storage server separately, I don't have to do that. I can buy just one HCI server, use it on-prem or use it on the cloud, either private or public, doesn't matter again. And then have my blockchain code, which is nothing but a hyper-converged code, run optimally on a hyper-converged infrastructure. Just a fantastic use case. This is definitely not a useless case. This is a very, very good use case, especially for folks who have an engineering and development background. This is the right time to use these emerging tech stack. Use the hyper-converged nature of that stack and run it on optimized hyper-converged infrastructure. You're bound to get a lot of savings, whether in consumption, whether in the agility to write the code. So for example, typically how it's done now is that I write the code for compute, then I write it for network, then I write it for storage. Blockchain solves that problem. It is a decentralized, distributed system of record which can be leveraged to build trusted systems of engagement. I'll repeat again. Blockchain is a decentralized, distributed system of record which can be leveraged with trusted systems of engagement. Just fantastic. Just fantastic. Look at this opportunity. whether it is trust as a service, or whether it is building a financial services superstore, or whether it is to help you with your procurement, whether it is to help you with your internal workflows and approvals. In a lot of these processes, trust as a service becomes extremely important. Okay. So let me just pause a bit. I thought there was some question or answers, so we can probably take the question and answers later. Yeah, thanks. Let's move ahead and talk about the collaborations. So in 2017, as head of innovation in State Bank of India, we were challenged by our stakeholders in State Bank of India, and our senior stakeholders told us that what are we doing about blockchain? Right? Other banks are doing something. Industries are also getting into it. Let us at least start with our blockchain journey. So in February 2017, we got 30 plus banks and technology partners, Indian banks, MNC banks, foreign banks, as well as banks from the Middle East. We got them to our technology headquarters in New Bombay. New Bombay is about 30 kilometers from Bombay. That's where our SBI Global IT Center is. We call it GITC. It is a very large IT hub. It's the capital of all our IT operations. So we call them for lunch. They like the lunch. We like the lunch. It was good lunch. And I told them two things. That let's shed our ecosystem and let's build an ecosystem. And the second thing I told them is that no bank is big or small. We are all equal. Let us share our best practices and worst practices. There are always lessons to be learned. Let us collaborate. Let us pool our resources, our expertise, our specialists. Let us test these fabrics. Let us test blockchain. Let us test data science. Let us test automation. Let us do it together so that we can collaborate. The challenges were way too much. We found it very difficult to get skilled resources. We started building these competencies, blockchain competencies, because unless we are internally don't understand what is blockchain, what is emerging tech, we'll not be able to collaborate on it. We'll not be able to innovate on it. So we built this alliance. It's still there today. We operate in a very collaborative way. And this is one of the first most successful alliances built on blockchain, all done in India, right? All done in India, right? We typically have not been very good collaborators in the past, but it's all changed. Emerging tech like blockchain has made us automatically collaborate and bring our technologists to the forefront and take the lead in transforming all our banking services that we give to millions of our customers. Moving on, these were the use cases that we prioritized. We still have meetings, although the cadence is much less now, but in the past, we've been holding monthly meetings, and we prioritized and focused on the use cases. And these are some of the use cases and projects that now banks have independently taken across working with the ecosystem, right? So let's take a look at a few of them. Cross-border remittances, corporate KYC and charge registry. Charge is nothing but your, it's just like a depository where, or like a collateral charge, where let's say a customer were to, where the bank has to probably hypothecate or take the lien on your documents so that they have some security. LOU bank guarantees, employee background verification, something that we have implemented successfully internally in SBI. Document authentication, vendor onboarding, KYC individual, invoice discounting, trade finance, and non-performing assets and other stressed assets, right? This is the 10th one, is something that I'm still pushing for, wherein using blockchain, we build up a buyer and seller exchange to help us trade in non-performing assets, or simply called as stressed assets or non-performing loans. The total amount of non-performing loans in India itself is about $250 billion plus, right? I was just reading about one of the RBI statements, which said that because of COVID, the total amount of, there's going to be a 400 basis points increase from, I believe, 10% to 14%, or I think something like 8% to 12% in the overall NPAs, because obviously the lockdown has affected industry, and a lot of the borrowers are not in a position to pay back the interest as well as the principal payments, right? Now, in the beginning, I said that blockchain is happening, and some of y'all may still ask the question, okay, we've heard so much about blockchain, even after 2 days we've heard so much, but what exactly is happening? So the first project, which is the cross-border remittance, we successfully implemented in 2018. What we did is we had a inward rupee remittance between the State Bank Kathmandu branch in Nepal and our State Bank Mumbai branch, wherein we did a inward remittance from Nepal to India, as well as an outward remittance from Bombay to Kathmandu, right? We used Nepal particularly for this cross-border remittance because Nepal and Bahrain are the only two countries wherein the inward and outward remittance of rupees is allowed, right? And the reason that we could successfully do this is because we didn't have to really grapple with the laws on foreign exchange called FEMA and FERA, right? FERA and FEMA are basically the RBI diktats or directives for which banks have to comply with, especially when it comes to foreign dollar remittances or any other foreign currency remittances. So here in this case, we successfully implemented it. We used IBM Hyperledger Fabric. We used some of the automation, and we could successfully remit the money from Nepal to India, as well as do an outward. So we did an inward transaction from Nepal to India, as well as we did an outward or outbound transaction from India to Nepal. This was probably one of the first blockchain projects and solutions that any global bank has done, right? Internally, we have done a lot of work on, tested out the solutions on employee background verification, on KYC, on vendor onboarding. That's a huge ecosystem. The vendor onboarding is a very good use case, because if we, let's say in large banks where we spend billions of dollars on IT, there are a lot of manual processes. There's a lot of trust that needs to be established. We have to, when we do large deals, we also procure, these large, whether it's infrastructure or software, we procure it from reputed vendors. We also want to make sure that, all the documents and the due diligence is done. We also want to build up that trust with that particular vendor, so that, all our mission critical services run. And I can guarantee you all our mission critical services are running perfectly. All the banks, for all the banks. So this should be a good reference point as to, how to really start your journey with blockchain, whether it's a research project, or whether it's a development project, or whether it is a project to get you started, either as somebody in an organization, or somebody in the academia, or if you're an entrepreneur. I think this is a very good list of blockchain projects that you can start with, or at least read about it, to help you with your blockchain journey. Now, although I come from the banking, I've also worked in other sectors like manufacturing, as well as healthcare, and other domains. A lot of these trust as a service projects can also be used in other industries. For example, vendor onboarding can be definitely used in the manufacturing sector, and especially in India, where the manufacturing sector has really taken a hit because of lockdown. I think they need to take this up probably even more quickly, so that they can really bring that trust as a service benefits to the organization. Then we can also, for example, so that's one very good example of non-banking kind of use cases that can be taken up. Employee background verification is another very good use case for even non-banking, use cases. So a lot of these can also be used in non-banking environments, or across non-banking enterprises. One of the reasons that blockchain and DLT has worked very well with banks is that because banking has now virtually become a virtual business, right? I mean, very few of us really go to the bank branch. In fact, now it's not even possible to do that. I believe, unless it's a very critical or emergency service that you have to perform, right? Otherwise, we can just click and do it. So the banks were one of the first to really start implementations in blockchain, because it's a virtual business. It's a business based on trust as a service. But others are also following up, right? So a lot of work is being, a lot of the blockchain projects are being deployed in manufacturing, in agri-tech, in food traceability, right? In what we call as farm to fork, traceability. People want to know whether, what is the origin of this product, and especially if it's a food product, they would like to know the origination, the time it has taken since the product has been processed to the time it reaches the citizens' home, right? So these are a lot of the projects that you can get started. Again, these are pure, my, I know that some of you all would be, very keen to hear on the crypto side. But I have been mostly working on the implementation of blockchain fabrics for enterprise level bank chain use cases, right? And the reason being is that the question would be, why not crypto? So I was on the crypto panel. I was on the finance ministry, not block, in the not block, based on the representing SBI at that time, and I was asked by the panel, what is the banks, what is my view on, rather than bank, what is my view on the crypto piece from a banker's perspective. And my response at that time was that when in India, such a large country, with 1.4 billion people, when most of the people, not most, but a lot of the people don't have enough fiat currency. That is, what fiat currency is nothing but real currency, our rupees, right? When we don't have enough of rupees or fiat currency, how is how is a cryptocurrency going to help? Maybe it could help 0.1% or a small niche segment of the market. But I think what is really required in India from a financial inclusion perspective is real money, and government is doing its best to make sure that at least even once the COVID hit, a lot of the government movement was directed to help the needy. Of course, a lot of more work needs to be done, but my view is that there is enough work and opportunity and benefits to use blockchain in the real world ecosystem rather than just talk about crypto, right? And the final again, my final view on this is that as of date, the banking system is ring fenced. So it's not that RBI or the government has banned bitcoins or crypto. What they have done is ring fenced the banking system from taking part in those transactions, right? So how did this collaboration innovation really help, right? It's really helped, and probably, this is the way that whether you're in the academia, whether you're a student, whether you're a professor, whether you're in the industry, or whether you're an entrepreneur, it doesn't matter. But once you start collaborating, I think emerging tech, especially blockchain, is best deployed and adopted using collaboration, right? You can pool technology resources. You can build community IPs, right? All the emerging stack like blockchain is open stack, so you don't have to pay for any of the development. I have used IBM Hyperledger. I've used Remix IDE. They're all free to use. There's a lot of resources available. Important thing is building internal innovation engines, especially in India. Extremely important. We are already, I was just talking with, just the start of the program of the session, I was just chatting with Dr. Jubilant and his team and his colleagues and other stakeholders of Saintgits. And, one of the key things is that we must use the innovation part of emerging tech so that from an IT services powerhouse, we can also become an emerging tech product powerhouse using innovations in emerging tech like blockchain. Okay, sharing of knowledge, extremely important. I've been very active in this space, working with the academia, working with the industries, right? A lot of it is published in the public domain. That's again something very important. And especially when you all are doing these blockchain projects, it's extremely important to share this knowledge so that we can all work in a team. Co-development of solutions. We can also build up. You all can also build up alliances. You all can, in fact, even build up academic alliances, right? You all, Saintgits can build up alliances with other institutes. Form a consortia. Extremely good use case, and take this and co-develop the solutions. Can be easily done. So various categories of blockchain, and one of the key things is that yes, it can be used across banking, government, healthcare. There is also the emergence of other technology stacks, especially with the advancement of 5G. There's going to be a lot of integration with the IoT. Can you build the trust as a service for these things, right? Can you build the trust as a service for things? I think extremely important, right? Because the data and the things that are coming on in the world today will, are 10x or 100x than the human population, right? So that's blockchain would not just run in isolation by itself. It would have to be integrated with core banking, with ERP systems, with government systems, right? With contracts, we also built another successful implementation of blockchain was in 2017, where we built a NDA solution, NDA smart contract. NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. So when we had a very large startup program, and every time we sign up with a startup, or allow that startup to or invite them to come join the program, we have to sign an NDA. So either we were doing it the good old way, print out the document, sign, then scan it, then send it by email, and then receive that signed copy back, then go to the other teams and get their signature, and then close it. It used to take about 1 to 2 weeks. What we did is built up this contract on the cloud itself, wherein the entrepreneur, the startup, can just come onto the cloud, as well as and sign the contract, and in 1 2 minutes, that's it. We get the notification that the contract has been signed by that particular startup, and then automatically that smart contract is then stored in the repository, and then whenever we have to refer it, there is a link that we get, and then we can that activated smart contract is stored, and if we have to make a reference, then we can use that reference, right? So another implementation of blockchain that we've done. I think apart from banking, apart from BFSI, there is also a lot of use cases that can be done for agriculture. I think this is one very good sector wherein a lot of blockchain based solutions can be implemented, maybe in integration with AI or computer vision or IoT, that can be done. So yes, we use blockchain to disrupt, to transform, to change, to innovate. And this can be used all across, whether it is digital payments or remittances, smart contracts. There is a lot of action in something called as reg tech, which is nothing but regulatory tech. This works both on the regulatory side. So for example, this can also work on the central bank side, as well as it can also work on the banking side, because a lot of our time and money is spent on numerous GRC reports. GRC is nothing but governance, risk, and compliance. And a lot of time is spent on that. A lot of money is spent on that. Blockchain can help integrate with RegTech to reduce the time it takes to build up these reports, as well as build up the trust as a service, which is very much required between a banking entity and a regulator. Even apart from banking, there would be also other regulatory aspects. For example, let's say a kind of a regulatory tech reporting between let's say the TRAI, the Telecom Regulatory Authority of India, and some of the telecom providers, right? As we can see that there is so much of confusion and so much of disputes, and that matter has gone to the court, and it's just just going on and on and on, right? If we can have a kind of a reg tech environment which is blockchain based, then the time it takes, the money spent is going to be much less, and can be some of the major benefits. So as I said, what do banks do? What do financial services do? What do insurance companies do? We move money, collect money, lend, secure, protect, advise. Right. I must confess that more work needs to be done in terms of something called as sandboxes, regulatory sandboxes or data sandboxes. Some of the regions like MAS, which is the Monetary Authority of Singapore, or the Dubai Authority, or the UK authorities are way ahead in terms of the sandbox development. What is a sandbox and why it is very helpful is the fact that it's how does typically how does a fintech or a blockchain company validate that, get that solution validated, right? The reason is that why we are so careful about when we procure these solutions or when we collaborate on these solutions. The reason we pay a lot of importance to the validity of the solution, as well as test the claim by that particular startup or enterprise or any other vendor, is the fact that we are going to use these solutions for mission critical services, and mission critical services cannot fail. Imagine if mission critical services fail, for example, payments. We cannot allow that to happen, right? At last guess, I think there were billions of transactions in a month just through UPI alone. Imagine if that were to fail. So through the sandbox approach is very much important, because a developer of that blockchain solution or that fintech solution can test their solution on the sandbox. The bank and the regulator can also see and validate the claim of that solution provider and put an approval stamp, meaning that this solution is now fit to go ahead. And this can only be done once it's tested on a sandbox, right? There's no way otherwise way it can happen. So I think this itself can be a good project to build a sandbox, or if you have a solution, to run it through a sandbox so that you have better chance of adopting this solution across various sectors. So what is tested in the sandbox is basically the data privacy piece of it, extremely important. The settlement, right? Because mission critical services is either a 1 or 0. It's like binary. It's either yes or no. Either they work or they don't work. So it's extremely important to check that. The security aspect, very, very, very important, especially from a GRC perspective, which is nothing but a governance, risk, and compliance. Also, we have to keep in mind that a lot of the banks and a lot of other organizations also look at a lot of the standards. So in banking, we particularly look at if it's a payment solution, or if it's a banking solution, then we look at the alignment of that particular solution to standards like PCI DSS or PSD2, and now also GDPR, right? This is extremely important. And then reconciliation. This is again important because there's a lot of time it takes. So for example, when we do omni-channel banking, or when we do, there's a lot of reconciliation that happens across all different channels. So that also needs to be checked, using this sandbox. Okay. So these are some of the blockchain programs, right from research, testing, and implementations that we've done in banks. Okay, I think probably I'll just spend a few little less time on this, but in the question and answers, probably you all can I can give you more details, or you can just approach me on I'll share my LinkedIn details and contact numbers, so you can always WhatsApp me. But typically, what we are using the blockchain is for. So one of the examples is if you see the intersection of collect and blockchain. In that cell, it's listed as 17K accounts. That's the number of accounts. We open 17,000 accounts per day in a large bank. A lot of these accounts are opened in rural areas. And in the rural areas, we found that a lot of the account opening form data is either incomplete or not filled up. And that's a big problem, because then our overall, when we report out the compliance, especially on KYC, we have to report out with just 24 or 25% or 20% forms that are being filled. How do we figure out how to fill up the remaining data? So in fact, we used a blockchain system and an AI system to predict what those missing fields are. So that, I mean, this is a temporary solution, but at least it helps us get more compliance, right? By doing that, we can now, next time, automatically fill up these details if they're not being filled, because now, we can't go and chase up that particular account holder. But at least from a compliance perspective, I think this is a very good use case that we implemented. We also used something like synthetic data, wherein we comply to the data privacy and customer privacy norms, where we mask the data, but at the same time, even after masking data, we don't lose the statistical properties of the data, right? So we can still do the analytics on it. So these are the kind of emerging use cases and kind of solutions that are extremely useful to banks and organizations, and probably good projects and good use cases to take forward, whether it's from the academia or whether it's from a startup perspective. These are some very good use cases to take forward. So as I close out, as we're approaching the hour, I'll just take another 5 minutes and close out, and then we can start with the question and answers. Or probably it can be about, I can go on for 7 minutes if that's fine. So what's happening, what is blockchain, bringing, what is changing? So if you see this, this is something I've developed. It's called innovation opportunity graph. So on the x-axis, you can see on the left that I have mentioned there, centralized financial switch or code-based, right? This is what the system we have been using, SWIFT, right? SWIFT is nothing but a global entity which has built a SWIFT network, and all the foreign exchange remittances happen through that SWIFT network. It's a centralized network. And the question is being asked today that, can't State Bank of India trust Bank of America? Or can't JP Morgan trust ICICI Bank? Of course they can trust. They have Nostro accounts, they have Vostro accounts, they have balances with each other. So then why do you require an intermediary to come in? So blockchain exactly does that. It reduces or eliminates the need for an intermediary or a centralized system, and paves the way for a more decentralized fintech switch-based system, which is more direct, a system wherein banks can directly transact. Maybe we'll come to in the future, maybe we'll come to a newer environment where maybe P2P can directly transact, right? It's agnostic as to what account you're holding, right? It can be marketplace linked payments. All this will help make payments more democratized, faster, direct, and cheaper. Right? There's a huge cost for remittances, huge cost. I know that it varies from $8 to $40, $50 for each transaction. That's a massive cost. Maybe not for big people, but for small people. And India is one of the biggest recipients in inward remittance. Although I don't know how the situation is going to pave out, because I think this year will take a hit because of the COVID. But it's massive. I think it is the largest in the world, the amount of dollars that come in through the popular through the bigger hubs like maybe Middle East or US or Southeast Asia, or whatever it is, or even Africa. It's massive, right? Blockchain can definitely reduce that cost, reduce the time. All these remittances take 3 to 5 days. Who's sitting on that money? We are not sitting on the money. It's our money, right? So why should bank earn on that money, right? If it's my money, and if I want to send it to my family, or my family wants to send me the money, then it should be immediate and direct. It should not take 3 to 5 days. It should be max 10 minutes or 15 minutes max. It should be probably in near real time. So this is the major disruptions which blockchain will cause. Payments is just one example. But this will be also a lot of the benefits that will cause and disrupt many industries. Okay? So, definitely it will, also help in the new generation of lending processes and systems, whether there are a lot of these crowdsourcing lenders because, unfortunately, at least in markets like India, there are some banks, there are quite a few banks who refuse to lend to entrepreneurs. Although it's public money, it's not their money, but still there are a lot of problems, right? So can a blockchain system be built? I think some of the chit fund companies in India have already successfully using a blockchain as part of their crowdsourced lending kind of programs. So that's another good use case for it to be used. Okay, so collaboration of the system. Uh, Alliance with banks is something already being done, right? There's a lot of scope in open banking in using APIs, a lot of fintech collaborations. Always remember that to build your own innovation IP, do it yourself. This is important. Do everything yourself. Only then you will understand, blockchain and able to leverage it far better. Between the banks that I worked it with, for about a couple of months, I did go back into coding and did do research on a lot of the tech stacks. And I didn't go back to coding after all these years just for the sake of becoming a developer, but to understand the code, to make sure that the engineering and development and architecture is well understood, and also to build your own IP, right? Can you do it yourself? I'm sure we can do it ourselves. All the resources available for blockchain development, integration, is all available. Can you do it yourself? Even a non-technologist can do it themselves. LCNC, right? Low code, no code, right? I was just talking with Dr. Jubilant and the team. And low code, no code, can low code, no code development happen with blockchain? Of course it can happen. Can you build up solutions without writing a single piece of code? Yes, it's happening as we speak. You can build an entire application without any programming of code or minimal programming of code. It's called low code, no code, LCNC. Just Google it. There are a lot of companies, startups who are pushing this agenda. It's in fact excellent for the academics and the students, as well as entrepreneurs, as well as people in the enterprise to leverage these technologies. Fantastic opportunities. Can you build a blockchain using low code, no code? Yes, you can. Okay. Okay, so I spoke about mission critical, run the bank, transformation. A lot of these drivers are aligned to the VUCA world. Everybody knows the VUCA world, right? Volatile, unclear or uncertain, complex and ambiguous, very relevant to our times, right? In fact, VUCA world was described by one of the American commanding generals in Afghanistan way back in early 2000 during the war there, where he was asked about what the situation is in Afghanistan, right? And this is about more than nearly 2 decades back, right? And that's what he described it, and that is what the world is today. We as technologists and non-technologists have to understand that this VUCA world is going to remain. It's not going to go away, right? And the best way to approach it is to use emerging technologies like blockchain. Reduce the confusion, reduce the chaos, offer something more predictable, offer the trust as a service, right? That's where you remove the uncertainty and the unpredictability of events. Okay. So these are some of the stacks, which not stocks, but okay, you can call them technology stocks or stacks. But these are some of the stacks that that you will have to work in an ecosystem, especially blockchain will have to work with AI, with automation, APIs, low code, no code, just a massive opportunity waiting to happen. OTA is nothing but over the air updates, something that Tesla has very successfully implemented. This will also come in a very good way. Some of the smart contracts that we build around blockchain can also be OTA based, meaning that once the smart contract is activated or is programmable or is programmed, then the over the air update can immediately invoke the transaction and can offer the trust as a service, authentication, and validation. Sorry. So what are the key learnings? Fail fast. In SBI, a government bank, a very, very large organization, 277,000 employees. I was told by the stakeholders. I've not even heard this in the in private banks. To fail fast. Doesn't matter if that use case doesn't work. Doesn't matter. Move on. But fail fast and report to us your findings. And this is very important. It's something that we don't particularly do well. We don't share our failures. I don't know whether it's through ego or whether it's, I don't know what. But just fail fast. Understand the code. Take the shot. Do we want to remain PPT or video entrepreneurs or entrepreneurs? Or do we want to take the shot and successfully deploy implementations? We have to take the shot, especially in the academia. If a large public sector organization can take the shot, I'm sure the rest of the world can. Be patient with hype tech, something like cloud. Started way back early in 2000, right? 2003, 2004. Then as per the Gartner hype curve, it peaked around 2011, 2012. And then there was a decline in the curve. That decline in the curve didn't mean that the emerging tech has declined. That decline in the curve means that that technology such as cloud is no longer the hype tech. It has become a mainstream. It's no longer a niche. And today we can see that cloud is deployed everywhere, whether it's a public, private, hybrid, whether there's cloud bursting, whether there is CASB or whatever models, it's all out there. It's taken some time. So we have to be patient. Don't expect results overnight. Don't expect that banks are going to overnight, we're going to close our core banking systems. We are servicing more than 500 million people. So it takes time for us to adopt these technologies like blockchain. But nobody's stopping. All these banks are moving ahead. A lot of organizations are moving ahead. But we have to be patient. Okay. Collaborate, build up alliances, build up partnerships, build bankable solutions, use integrations like APIs, look at regulatory sandboxes. That's the fastest way to get your solution or even idea to market. Okay, so that's all I have. I'm just, sharing my coordinates. I'm a humble innovator, and I am on LinkedIn. There's only one Sudin Baraokar as far as today. I think in the future there could be many more. You can please connect with me on LinkedIn. There's also my number I can share. It's 98501-73007. If I don't take your call, just WhatsApp me and just ping me. I will ping back. And that's my email, sudbaro@gmail.com. So thank you very much. I hope this session was insightful and useful. I didn't typically go into all the Google stuff or some of the other stuff which you all would typically look at. What I have described is the actual implementations and my actual experience with blockchain on very wide use cases. I hope that this entire blockchain journey you all can get immersed with, connect with the ecosystem, and wish all the very, very best in your initiatives and programs. And if there is anything that you all need to touch base with me or even collaborate with me, that's great. Do get in touch with me, and I'm sure I can do what it takes to help you all. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Participants can ask questions through chat box or unmute yourself and ask. I request participants can ask questions through chat box or unmute yourself and ask.
So, I hope everybody is still sitting on their chair and have not fallen off their chairs.
No, sir.
And if you all have not understood a word of what I've said, that's perfectly acceptable and approved, because it means that emerging tech can happen, blockchain can happen, and that's the only way that change can happen and transformation can happen.
Yes, sir. Yes. Surely. Yes, sir.
Any question?
Yeah.
So one question is there. I'll share the screen.
Yeah. So I think it's the corporate KYC, right? We'll again end up with a third party, which leads to bargaining, right?
Can you see the screen, sir?
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Fine. You're sharing it, right? Yeah. Please throw some light on low code, no code theory. As I'm from academia and have no hands-on experience, how can I go about using and trying blockchain in education? So low code, no code is exactly what it means. It is low code, no code. So without having to write a Java or a C or a Python or whatever other, using any other programming language, you don't have to use that programming language. It means that whether you're a computer engineer or whether you're a technologist, or irrespective of whether you're even a non-technologist, these are all do it yourself stacks. Just start with it. By the end of the day, if you start at 9 o'clock in the morning, if you start your research and then do the testing and start to the development by low code, no code development by after lunch, and then test it by evening, then by 9 o'clock in the night, you are able to create your first blockchain solution. Okay. So that's what it means, right? Low code, no code means it's better that you don't have the experience. Sometimes we should not have that initial knowledge that, hey, okay, where is my repository? Where is my code? Let me tell you, in some of the banks I worked with, I'll not name them, but we've built up so much of code and so much of repositories that we don't even know where those repositories are. We don't even know who controls the repositories. So this is a very good option for you guys to forget about the past and just take the shot with these new technologies. It is as is what it is listed as. Low code, no code is just the way it works. You don't have to use any code to build your application, right? So how can I go about using and trying blockchain education? I think education is a fantastic space to explore all this. I think things like, these certificates, right? Certificates verification. Then things like, looking at building up, trusted systems, your examination, verifications, assessments. All this can go through the blockchain route, right? Especially that we now live in a contactless, seamless world. So you have to look at what that world is going to be, right? Seamless, contactless, seamless world, a digital world is what it is. There is no other option. If we cannot make contact, we cannot make contact. And that's all the more that these emerging technologies like blockchain and go digital have to be implemented. There's no other option. But especially in academia, there's no other option, right? So there are a lot of internal processes in your organizations or in the academia which can be simply put on a blockchain and implemented. Okay, corporate KYC will again end up with a third party which will lead the bargaining. So don't worry about the world, right? Don't worry about, worry about what you can develop. Don't worry about the world. The world is perfectly okay. We are able to do 1.5 billion transactions in a single day. We are able to serve more than 500 million customers and accounts. The world is working perfectly well. Don't worry about the world. First, save yourself. Figure out what we can do to innovate, to collaborate, and take the shot. And there are a lot of opportunities, right? So don't worry about, KYC and the back-end verification and, all that stuff. As far as I know, the government, the current dispensation has built up probably the best digital infrastructure in the world. We have GST, we have JAM, which is nothing but your Jandhan, Aadhaar and mobile kind of system, right? We ourselves have so many technologists. We have millions of technologists. We have hundreds of millions of people consuming that technology. So don't worry about, all the stuff about, what will happen to KYC, what will happen to my data, don't worry about that. There is enough, you can also, if it's something like KYC or data that you're concerned about, there is great work you can do in synthetic data. Fantastic work you can do in synthetic data. Right? So, there is, yes, there could be, problems with this compliance, but that is the opportunity. Can we, through blockchain, mask that data? It's already being done, right? So when we generate the blockchain hash, you're already masking the data. So you're using a secured, decentralized system of record wherein you can build up your own KYC ecosystem or your own trust as a service and take it ahead. Or you can integrate that with a official trust aggregator. Okay. How far is smart contract successful? I think smart contract is the most successful implementation in blockchain as of today. The subsequent question would be, what should my first blockchain project be? I think building a smart contract is one of the most successful ways of starting your blockchain journey. And I think I can tell you from my experience that the smart contract is going to further explode. Everything will become programmable smart contracts integrated with technologies like OTA, over the air, as well as some of the automation technologies. Right. And this is going to be just fantastic. This smart contract piece of it is going to be across all industries. It's fairly simple to build the smart contract. It's not really very difficult. Maybe building nodes and building alliances is probably a little more difficult, but building a smart contract is absolutely quite straightforward. There are a lot of resources available. You can use Remix IDE. You can use some of the Hyperledger APIs. You can use a lot of other resources. You can use Ethereum smart contracts, right? They're already built up. A lot of these are already built up. You don't have to really struggle. But yes, I think that's a great question. The fastest way to start your blockchain journey would be to build something like a smart contract. Yeah. Is all organizations need to maintain their own blockchain network? So at least from a banking perspective, we would prefer to build a private permissioned network. So let's take the recent case. Not so recent now, but there was this PSU bank, one of the large PSU banks, which was defrauded by one of the diamond merchants. Wherein he took a letter of guarantee from that bank and went to other banks and further even borrowed money, right? And without giving any collateral. All these transactions were not recorded on the core banking. They were not even recorded on the network. Now, suppose the banks get together, let's say 10 banks get together on the network, right? So each transaction is able to, the ledger copy of that transaction is available to all the participants. It means that if, let's say, a borrower has borrowed from bank A, right? And let's say goes to bank B and says, I want now money from bank D. It's not that bank B cannot give money to that borrower, but typically a bank can check whether this borrower is a genuine borrower or not. And by referencing the other transactions and by knowing that this borrower may not have the right intent, he is just borrowing money from all the banks, can help reduce fraud, right? I just checked that, and this was just latest news. And another very, very good example for use of blockchain, especially in the reg tech and the fraud prevention kind of space, is that the total amount of fraud in the country, right, especially from the banking system, has increased from last year, has increased from 1,05,000 crores, or about $15 billion, to now more than 1,86,000 crores. Imagine a country like India where millions are needing money, or nearly 1 billion is needing money. The total amount of fraud is 1,86,000 crores. Can blockchain help? Absolutely can help. It can help. Another very, very good use case. It can help in the newer themes like reg tech, regulatory tech, the soup tech, supervisory tech, leg tech, legal tech, audit tech, compliance tech, risk tech, These are the emerging themes and models that definitely can help, especially, I mean, this is astonishing. I mean, this is shocking. 1,86,000 crores is the total amount of fraud in the Indian banking system. It's just astonishing. Next question is: blockchain uses existing tools and techniques. There is no concrete novel idea. Then how can we adopt this new technology? So I think the something like AI, and let me ask the question. After responding to 4 questions, let me ask one simple question. When was the first AI system built? Or when was AI? How old is AI? Any answers? How many years?
It was somewhere around 1960s.
Okay, 60s. Any other answers? Okay, 60s. Any other answers? Okay. The first AI was built more than a century back in 1914 by a company called Honeywell, which built the world's first autopilot more than a century back. This same autopilot is used today in commercial airlines and all planes, so that in case a pilot is unable to guide the plane or navigate the plane, the autopilot takes over. This was built in 1914. They wrote the algorithm wherein the autopilot could fly the plane. Today is, yes, much more advanced. Right? So innovations like these have been happening for a very, very long time. Right? In the late 90s, you had, and coming from the IBM world, I can tell you that our IBM Deep Blue system, right, beat the greatest chess player of our times. One of the few players to have crossed 2,800 ELO rating. I think Magnus Carlsen just broke that ELO rating. Went even beyond Gary Kasparov. So that was specific AI. Now we are using emerging tech like blockchain across the entire spectrum. Can use it for smart contracts. We can use it for RegTech. We can use it for payments. We can use it for trust as a service. We can use it for food traceability. We can use it for audit. We can use it for reconciliation. We can use it for healthcare. Right? So don't worry about the fact that it takes time. Yes, it does take time. Cloud took time. Virtualization took time, right? Virtualization was started in the 60s by the IBM mainframe systems. We built it in the 60s. And then later on, towards the start of the 2000s, then companies like VMware took it to the next level. Right? They adopted for the distributed environments, for servers, and for client kind of technologies. So it takes time. Everything takes time, but it's happening. We cannot ignore it. Right? All the jobs, and I can reassure all of you all, including myself, that there are 100 times more jobs in emerging tech like blockchain, AI, automation than your current tech.
So if there is any more questions, you can send it to us. Time is running low. So we'll find the answers and send to you by offline. Thank you so much, sir, for joining us today and sharing your expertise with us. Hope participants are having valuable takeaways regarding blockchain technologies, tools, blockchain projects, use cases, sandboxes, and best practices. The session was interesting and informative one. On behalf of all the participants and St. College of Engineering, I thank you, sir, for sparing your valuable time with us today. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Wish all the very best in your efforts. We are always there to help.
Thank you.
I would like to really thank Dr. Jubilant and the Saintgits team for taking the lead and getting on right at the cutting edge of technology. And I'm sure that this collaborative approach by yours and your team will go a long way in fostering innovation and collaboration in our ecosystem. Thank you.
Thank you, Sudin. Thank you. And surely your experience and your expertise in the technological area, please share that with, again, collaborate with academia as well as research area so that we can join together and do more things.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you.
Participants kindly fill the feedback form shared.
And dear participants, there is an important announcement. Tomorrow will be having the last day, day 6, and here we will be having continuous workshops from 9:30 to 3:30, and we will be having. It means participants was asking about the possibility of having hands-on session on wallets and cryptocurrency exchanges. We will be doing that tomorrow. And Mr. Tibin Thomas, of the research scholar of APJ Abdul Kalam Technological University, will be doing that. And there is a change in the program by Mr. Abhilash. Instead of Abhilash, Mr. Google Alex, CEO of Innovation Technologies, will be taking the session of Coda. He will be starting his session from 11 o'clock and will be ending at 3:30. In between, we will be having a small break. And please prepare yourself with your laptops. We will be mailing you regarding the same. You should have to have the Ganache to be installed as well as the Java SDK to be installed in your laptop. And please ensure that you will be having enough data to connect with. Thank you. See you at 11:30.